Hello everyone, Adrienne here, and today I'm coming to you with the first impression of Juvia's Place, the Nomads palette. This is the outer box that the palette came in, and the palette looks exactly like the outer packaging. On the back side of the palette, we have listed the ingredients here, and this is the beautiful packaging that I'd come to expect from Juvia's Place. I'd expect nothing else but really pretty packaging, and this is what the colors look like in this palette. It's really fall harvest looking shades, and I think this is why this was chosen to represent the natives in their country. But without further ado, I'm going to show you swatches of what this palette looks like on my skin. Now that you've seen those swatches, I will tell you guys why it took me so long to get this palette. I wasn't so sure that this was a palette that I wanted to get. I didn't think I would like it on my complexion after I saw it on a few different people, swatched on them. I didn't know if the colors would look right on me, but once the new 6-pan palettes released, the nudes, the berries, the violets, and the chocolates, I had the nudes palette, and I didn't think I liked it very much when I created the look because I had to mix it with the chocolates palette. And if you haven't seen my videos that I've done first impressions with those, I will post a link to them up above, and I'll also have it in the description box in case you want to click on it after this video. But I didn't think that I would like the tones of these shadows until I used those shadows and created my first impressions and got to edit the videos and saw the nude palette. And once I saw how everything looked on me, I knew that I wanted to go back and pick up this palette, that I'd probably like it, so I went ahead and ordered it from Ulta. I am also in the middle of doing a foundation review. I am filming it at the same time after I've done this eye look, so I will post a link to that video above also and leave the link to that video in the description box if you want to check out the Juvia's Place I Am Magic, which comes in a tube like this foundation and the stick foundation, and also their concealer. All those are in the video that I'm doing at the same time that I'm filming this one, if you want to check that out later on. But this palette, I knew I had to try it after I tried those 6-pan palettes. Once I saw the swatches on my arm, I wasn't sure how I was going to put the looks together, but obviously I got a look done, the one that I'm wearing now, and I will show you how I created this look. Taking a Mary Kay eyeshadow brush, I'm going to go into this yellow shade here. It does have glitter in it, but the glitter, I don't think it's going to adhere to my eye because there's nothing to really bind it and make it stick. This is a bright yellow color. I picked this one because I wanted to make sure that it was vibrant and really stood out. The one next to it isn't quite as dramatic, although it is nice. I just didn't want it to be subtle. And the pigmentation is building up on this really fast. To prime my eyes, I used MAC's 24-hour Prep and Prime, and then I went in with the Paint Pot, MAC Paint Pot Layin Low. Okay, I don't want to go across the entire lid with this shade. I think I'm going to stop here. Let's see, I think this lighter yellow here, I'm going to go in and use it as a base shade to tone down my eyeshadow primer. So I'm going to take an e.l.f. contouring brush and lightly dust a little bit of that up around the brow bone. I like to go ahead and go up to the brow bone on the inner corner of the eye and not all the way out here because I like to leave it highlighted. I do go over it just slightly to set the primer. So for now, I'm going to stop on that eye and see if any of this color oxidizes because I don't want it to get super intense too fast. I'd rather take my time and build it up. Coming into that inner corner of the eye. Take a little bit more. This is blending really nice because this eyeshadow base is pretty tacky. So I only see one slight spot right here where I'm having a little issue blending it out, where it kind of stuck to it and just caught and isn't wanting to blend. Okay, now I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn the palette upside down so you guys can see it better. I think for the sake of this, just using all the colors, I'm going to go ahead and set my brow bone with this lighter shade here, and this is really pretty. I don't mind this one at all. It's kind of nice for it not to be that vanilla white. I get really tired of having those vanilla white in the palette that I feel like I'm never going to use, and I cannot decide. I'm kind of not wanting to do the really warm crease, so I think I'm going to go ahead and try to go into the transition with this shade and see what it does. I may have to warm the transition up a little bit, but I want to try it and just see what it looks like. So I am going to take an e.l.f. blending brush and build the color up, just slightly tap it in for intensity. I don't want to actually use the blending motion of it in case I do decide I want to warm it up with that orangish shade. And it looks like this green color is grabbing right in here, just where the other yellow shade grabbed. So I am going to have to start the blending motion to try to soften that. Otherwise, I'm just going to have a big blob of color here that I don't want. And let's see. Looking down at it, I cannot tell if I'm going to need to warm it up or not. I really want this to be an all matte look, and I'm trying to use as many of the matte shades as possible. I want to make sure whatever I do, if I choose to use the yellow, that it doesn't take over the entire look. This inner corner of the eye, I don't seem to be having that issue with. It must have been the way I put the primer on. Maybe I didn't blend my paint pot out enough right in the inner corner. This is building up really pretty. I don't think it was a quality issue with the shadow. I definitely think it was my primer application, because this eye, it's going on beautifully. And I think I may end up using that orange matte shade just to go in. I'm even going to use the same brush and go in with it and just put a little bit right at the edges of it. I don't want it to take over, just a little bit, especially on the outer corners. Not too bad at all. Okay. So that looks pretty good. I want to go back in with this e.l.f. contouring brush with this yellow shade here and just blend up towards the brow bone just a little bit more, and I'm going to soften this lighter shade that I used here on the brow because I don't want it to be stark white. Okay, and I could not decide what I wanted to do. So for the rest of the eyelid, I think I'm going to try to be adventurous and go in with this dark green shade here. I'm hoping it's not too dark for the eyelid, so I'm going to take a color switch and clean this Mary Kay eyeshadow brush off. Get some of that first yellow shade off. Okay. Oh, that's blending nicely. Really pigmented. It's not taking much to build up the color. It's not patchy. And the very outer V, I am going to leave open for this shade here. So I'm just going to come in on this side a little. Don't want to blend them into each other too much. I want to leave the colors really distinctive. Want it to be obvious, the line that separates the two shades. I am getting a little bit of fallout from this green shade, but I don't really mind. Okay, I'm going to set the brush down now, and I'm going to go on the outer crease with this. Kind of feeling like I need a small controlled blending brush. So this is a MSQ brush, just a plain little blending brush to get this outer V precisely. And then I'm going to come up and blend towards the middle a little bit with that outer V color and soften the edge of the green shade. This is blending really nicely. And I have to be careful when I go to really blend everything out to soften it that I don't lose some of my color. So I'm going to put that brush down for now and go back into this kind of pukey green shade here, and I will take that to blend that dark brown crease color, not crease color but outer V color, because I'm afraid if I keep using that small concentrated blending brush I'm going to lose some of the intensity of my color. Okay, I like the way this has turned out, so I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to go finish the rest of my eyes and face with these Juvia's Place foundations and concealers that I ordered. I got the matte and I got the stick foundation and I got the concealer. So that's going to be a separate video. As soon as that video is up, I'll post a link up above here so you can watch that. But I will be back to show you this completed look, and then after that I'm going to create another look with this palette. Getting started with the second look, I'm going to go in with the BH Cosmetics out of the Marble Brush Collection, the number 7 brush, and I'm going to take this shade here and set the primer. And I did prime my eyes with my normal primer, the MAC Prep and Prime, the 24-hour extended eye base, and then the MAC Paint Pot and Layin Low. So I am lightly blending this shade. Doesn't seem to be grabbing, thank goodness. I'm going to stop with that eye and go into the other eye because I don't want to get this shade too dark going up towards the brow. I want there to be a gradient of color. Let me blend as much as I can out here because it seems like at this inner corner of the eye it's going to try to grab. I think it's because of the exfoliating products I've been using, and just right in that inner corner. The skin hasn't exfoliated all the way because it's a little tender right here, so I'm sure it's just trying to turn over some new skin cells, which I'm not going to stop with my anti-aging efforts with my eye care. So I'll just have to put up with it. It does cut down on how many eye looks I can record in a day. Sometimes I like to bang out a whole bunch, but my eyes say no depending on the treatments I've been doing with them. And I did hit it pretty aggressive over this past weekend because I've been slacking a little and I didn't want my skin to start getting crepey around the eye area. Okay, I'm going to stop with that color. And going in with another one of those brushes from the BH Cosmetics Marble Brush Collection. This is the number 6 brush, and I am going to take this shade here and go in and concentrate it lightly right in the crease. I don't want to lose that pukey green color. But I do want to get this blended in pretty softly just to create the gradient. And this is blending pretty well. Don't want to go down too low either because with my hooded eyes I like to leave a little more space to put my lid shades. So this color is building and blending. Ooh, I got a lot of pigment there really well. Let's see how easily I can get this to blend out and soften up to match the other eye. And this was the last eye I primed, so it might be a little more tacky than my other eye, and that might be why the shades are grabbing more also. But this is blending out pretty decent. You go into that inner corner and really swirl, because that's where it tends to grab. And it looks like I need to go up just a smidgen higher on the brow bone. This part's always a little bit harder for me because I like to cover up all this hooded part with the extra skin, but then I don't want it going clear up to the brow bone or ruining the color gradient. I like to be able to see all the shades that I used. So I'm going to stop with this eye, and I think right in here I'm going to add a little more of that shade, just build it up and even it out with the other eye. And these shadows are extremely pigmented and good quality. This is such an awesome grungy palette. I really like grungy tones, and this palette is really giving off those vibes. I didn't really want to use any of the orange in this look, so I'm trying to go without that. But we are going to use the shimmers. Oh, I skipped a whole patch over here. I guess I ought to fill that in. So there, that is built up enough for now. I am going to take this Mary Kay, and this is actually a concealer brush, and I'm going to take it and try going into this metallic shade dry to see how it packs on, and I'm going to pat it on. It's doing pretty good. Just to see some more intensity with this gold shade, I'm going to spray some MAC Fix Plus. Let me get it unlocked on my brush. And I hope I didn't get too much of it, but oh well, we'll see here in a second. See if that looks a little more metallic. Seems to be going on a little more metallic. I don't want to go too overboard with it. I don't want it to start showing texture on my eyelid. I definitely think spraying the Fix Plus helped to amp the color up. And to tell you the truth about this shade that I'm using, this was the shade in the palette that I saw on most people's skin tones that I did not care for at all, and I thought gave kind of an ashy appearance mixed with the other colors in the palette. And I'm going to try with the color switch to wipe as much of this off as I can. I don't know how well it'll do with it being damp. And I am going to spray the brush again because I'm going to go in with the other metallic shade in here. I don't really know if this is metallic or more satin, this really dark green shade here. And I want to pack this on next to that gold, but I don't think they blend very well together. I think it's best to keep them separated as two distinct colors. The thing is this green shade that I'm putting down here is such a grungy, muted color that mixed with another color, it just looks to me really bad when you try to mute it any more than it already is. It doesn't play that well on the people that I've seen where they've really blended or tried to mix the two together and didn't keep them kind of separated. I will try to tap a little bit of that gold shade just to soften the edges a very tiny bit. I'm, as a matter of fact, going to come in a little bit closer towards the middle of the eye with this so that I still keep a lot of this darker shade on the outer corner before I do my outer V shade. But I think that was what I didn't like most about the palette. Because the gold is more of a white gold. So with that grungy shade, it just really needs some finessing for me to like it. I think I'm going to stop. I'm just looking in my mirror right now. I'm going to go back in with this little brush here and build up some more of that dark green matte shade to just clean this up right in here in the crease. And I make no promises about this look because I was most worried about creating the look with it. I knew the mattes would probably turn out really good, and I did like the matte look a lot, that first look, but I'm coming into the inner corner. Now I'm going to put the brush down, and I'm going to go in with another one of the marbled brushes from the BH Cosmetics set, and this one is the number, I think this one actually says either 6 or 8. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see. So for the outer V, I'm going to go in with this dark brown here and start to pack it and just go strictly with the outer V and then determine how far I need to bring it in for intensity. I don't want to make this messy. I think I need to come in just a little bit more. Sometimes I like these type of palettes where everything's just cut and dry the way you want the colors, but then sometimes it makes me a little bit nervous because this look right here with these particular metallics, to me, they just seem like they can turn into a muddied mess so fast that I don't want to make any mistakes and completely mess up the whole look, because these colors being so muted, like I said a few seconds ago, it could just look like you just picked up dirt and rubbed it on your eyes. So to blend these two metallic shades together, I'm going to lightly tap my finger into it and just dab at the edge and see what happens to soften these two shades and get them to kind of merge together. It's almost like my brush was so wet when I put the deeper shade on, metallic shade, that I can feel the shadow as I'm tapping and blending the edges. And I think I may stop here because I really want to be concentrating, and I'm going to have to get super close to my mirror to make sure that I don't merge these together in a way that ruins the look. So that's all I'm going to do off camera besides add liner and finish the rest of my eyes. Now that I'm looking at the brow bone, I think I do want to do something else with that. I'm going to go back in with this first brush that I had and go back into that pukey shade and just blend out the edges of that dark green a little more. I want that to soften. And come over here and just set that. I don't want to make it quite as deep as the inner corner, but this is turning out to be pretty. For the brow bone, I think I am going to go in with this cream color shade here, or whatever you want to call it. I actually like this color quite a bit for a brow bone highlighter. Now I'm going to take that brush again and just barely go in and soften that up a little. I think I'm going to stop with that shade and let me deepen with that dark green just a little bit more. I think I'm going to stop blending altogether because I feel like this is going to start to muddy if I keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and go off camera and do liner, lashes, and the rest of my makeup, and then I will be back with the completed look. So here I am back with the completed look. I did go in with Sephora's Matte Moss eyeliner on the bottom lash line to smoke it out. I didn't use any of the shadows to set the liner. I just took a smudging brush and smudged the liner out into the outer corner here where I had the green shade and intensified that. But overall, I want to say that I am really impressed with this palette to work with. The quality was really good, just like most of every Juvia's Place palette that I've ever picked up. There wasn't one shade in here that I thought was a dud. I don't think I've said throughout the video how much this palette cost. If I find that I haven't when I'm editing, I'll go ahead and pop it on the screen right now. But these colors are beautiful, and this puts me in the mind of so many other palettes that I currently want, and some of the palettes I already own. Like, it gives off the grungy vibe, and of course I think of Subculture right away because it was one of the first palettes that went mainstream that really gave off that grungy vibe. But there's some of those looks in there that I feel like you can create with this palette with much better quality to work with. And this white gold shade, I really don't mind it. I said I was going to try to blend it in a little bit more off camera. I found that I didn't want to do that, and I left it alone. I really didn't intensify anything else off camera. I left the whole look alone and finished the rest of my face and just added liner and lashes, and like I said, smoked out that bottom lash line. But I definitely think that this is a good high quality palette to work with. My thing is with this palette, I think it's really important not to try to blend the colors too much, but to place them where you want them and lightly blend the edges of it, just ever so slight. If you don't take the time to do that and you try to blend it all together, I think you're going to end up with a muddy mess for the most part, because this color and this color here, they're about as muted as you get. There's not much more you could do with them before they turn muddy on you. This green blends really well with some of the other shades because it still is a pretty intense green shade, even though I would call it like a grungier version of a forest green. It's still obvious that it's very green on the eye, where this is just kind of yellowish, brownish green. Like I said, it's already on its way to becoming muddy. But as long as you go into this palette knowing that you want to place your colors and just lightly blend out the edges, and don't try to go in and blend like you can with a lot of other primary colors or palettes that you can use the color wheel theory to blend colors together. This is probably not going to be the palette for that. But I love every shade in here. There really isn't a shade that I didn't like. Like I said, on a lot of deeper skin tones or even medium skin tones, I would say be careful of how you use this shade here, because it can start to look kind of ashy depending on what you pair it with and how you blend it. But I think this look overall turned out really great, and I am so happy that I did decide to go ahead and get this palette, because I could see myself using especially those matte shades in the palette with some of the other Juvia's Place palettes, because those are some beautiful colors, and I do like matte looks a lot, like the first look that I created. So I would definitely recommend this palette, and this is one that I think I will be using on a regular day-to-day basis. I don't know that I would do such a bold look as this one that I have on for a regular day-to-day basis, but I definitely think that this palette has a lot to offer in the way of matte shades and creating a unique look that you don't see most everyday average people walking around with. They don't typically, where I live, they don't typically take the time to use muted colors like that. It's just typically all your brown neutral shades. So this adds a little difference without being too bold and vivid and out there. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. You'll also want to hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube notifies you every time I upload a new video. I'll see you guys soon.